Hello lovely people! Today I would like to present you 5 short stop-motion movies to make sense of our emotions during this quarantine time. The lockdown is still upon us, and even though restrictions are being relaxed slowly, this is a situation that we have to cope with for still a little while. And in these unique times of social distancing, we are confronted to ourselves and to our emotions, and we really need to cope with them and to find a way to make sense of all these emotions and all these feelings that we experience by ourselves. And to me, the best way to process my emotions is to watch movies. And because at the moment we somehow have a lot of time to kill but very little attention span, I thought about presenting you 5 short movies under 10 minutes to make sense of some lockdown, quarantine, coronavirus crisis emotions that I felt in the last 2 months, and I think a lot of people can relate to. So why stop motion? Well, first, I love stop motion. This is not the first time I'm telling you this, and to me it is one of the purest form of animation because everything looks so real, and well, it is because it is real puppets and real setups and real things. Also, I wanted to present to you films that you've never seen before. If you're an animation lover like me, you probably know some of them. If not, please enjoy your discovery of this weird, cute, and sometimes scary world. Try to be open-minded and you'll thank me later. Without further ado, here is my selection with no particular order. But Milk is Important is a Norwegian short movie that has been released in 2013, and its main themes are anxiety, depression, anxiety, and going out of your bubble. We follow this guy in his apartment who is terrified of others. He's trying to avoid any kind of social interaction, and he is trying to disappear anytime he needs to get out of his apartment. He's so terrified of people that once he needs to knock at a neighbor's door to ask for milk, therefore the name of the movie, I guess, he just faints. He cannot talk, he just faints. And when he wakes up in his apartment, there is this cute, fluffy monster beside him. The only problem is that this monster is huge. It takes a lot of space and it's following him everywhere he goes. The fluffy monster is just really cute and friendly and clumsy, and it has absolutely no respect for personal space, and it just pushes the guy out of his limits. He's making him do things that he doesn't want to do. There is a very funny contrast between this very cute monster and the way he's presented like in a horror film. At least the first part of the movie is silent. There's absolutely no music but just jumpy sound effects, so you get really into the skin of this guy. And finally, the music starts when the guy tries to escape the monster because he doesn't want to face his social anxiety. And I'm not spoiling you anything there because the end is really beautiful and you need to see it yourself. But I really enjoyed watching this movie in lockdown times, in quarantine times, because first, this guy would have been very, very happy to be told, you're not allowed to see anyone. But other than that, it just shows how hard it can be to live with social anxiety first, and especially when you're locked in your apartment, how difficult it is to live with mental illness. On the other side, it shows how difficult it is to live with fear, and I think that's what some many people discovered lately with the pandemic to live with fear. And spending lockdown with any kind of mental illness is particularly challenging. In this movie, with the setup, with the surreal character and this very anxious guy, I think the directors managed to talk about these topics in a very fun and poetic way. And I think, especially in these times, many of us can relate. The Maker is a short movie released in 2011. You can find it on the YouTube channel Zealous Creatives, which is full of beautiful short movies, so I really recommend that you go check them all out. So we found ourselves in this mysterious lab or a workshop attic kind of sepia atmosphere with a creepy creature looking like a rabbit who is just running after time to create something. The atmosphere again is very much confined and there's not much natural light. It's very dark and things are lit with some little touches of light, which gives it a very heavy atmosphere, very mysterious feel. And at the same time, the rabbit, the creature, is looking cute, and you have a lot of empathy with it because he's like, he needs to create, he knows he doesn't have much time and he needs to finish his creation, and you're like, yeah, go rabbit, go. But most important in this movie is the music, because it is made as a music video. The music is composed by Paul Haley, and the whole project of the movie started with the directors suggesting to Haley to make a movie on one of his compositions. And I think they managed to make a real masterpiece by combining this stunning music that you're going to have in your head for the next days, I'm afraid, and to combine it with the deep meaning of the film. The film is like 3 minutes, 4 minutes long, and it's so much is told during these 4 minutes. So you will see that the music and the movie go around the idea of time repeating itself and going very, very, very fast. The music gives a perfect rhythm to the story and to the scenario and to the animation, which, by the way, is flawless. It really gives this idea of running after time. There's never enough time, and you need to be done soon, quick, now. And suddenly it slows down and you understand that you need some time to reflect on the situation, on what's going on. You don't really understand what's happening to you. And suddenly the music switches in, and it's just the most perfect end. Again, I let you discover it. At the end, it's all about the cycle of life, the creation of life, and loneliness, so much loneliness. And they managed, with this great contrast, this great atmosphere, and this perfect, beautiful creepiness, to talk about loneliness and time in a very poetic way. And to me, this movie makes a lot of sense in lockdown again, because, well, don't you have the feeling that days are just repeating themselves? Even if you are still working, if you're stuck at home without a job or anything to do, you don't go to school, things go and go and go again, and at some point you're asking yourself, why am I so alone, and what is happening to me? Again, I think this movie is really much relatable at the moment, and I mean, if you have 5 minutes to kill, watch it. You won't regret it. And also, again, I recommend all the movies from Zilus Creatives. So have fun with that. Head Over Heels is an American short movie released in 2012. It was nominated for the Oscars, and it's basically it's not a love story, it's a re-love story. It's talking about feeling trapped in a relationship, and it brings it literally. They are this couple trapped in their house and trapped in their relationship. They don't communicate anymore, they don't seem to love each other anymore, and they live upside down from one another. It's really funny. She's living on the ceiling and he's living on the floor. It's a very clever setup of the scenario, of the storyboard, where you have all those furnitures which are multifunction, and somehow this house is just flying around in the sky, and you don't need to know why. This all upside down thing is very well structured in the way that decor and puppets and lighting are very well done and give this impression of a dance. And you will learn later in the story that dance has a meaning in the story. The sound effects are also very important because, so it's, again, there's no dialogue, they don't talk to each other, of course, there's zero communication between them. The only thing that you hear and that they hear is, the annoying sounds your partner makes, and it's driving you crazy after some years. And I think they took something that is so trivial and put it in a very funny way in this movie. It's, both fun and gross. It also shows how mean partners can be to one another sometimes when there's no relation anymore, and also how sometimes the people you're living with can feel like total strangers. And so at some point in the movie, the house lands somewhere and they finally have the possibility to go out. And she goes out and something really funny happens. They start to miss each other. If you're lucky enough to be in quarantine with your partner, or if it's not a luck for you, you will see things in this movie that will help you process what you're feeling right now. I also wanted to add that the director managed to communicate a lot with no dialogues and with no communication between the two characters. Even without talking, they are very expressive. And I think that's a challenge, especially with animation puppets, because there is limited things you can make them do. And to me, it's both an emotional and a technical win on this one. So Foxed is a very short movie released in 2013, and I really like this movie because, so first it reminds me of Coraline, which is one of my favorite animation stop motion movie again, and it has everything to do with feeling trapped, being trapped. So it fits perfectly in our theme today, and also it is one of these horror animation movies which I found great because it's a very unusual genre that you apply to animation. And I think this movie won the palm of the most beautiful puppets of this whole selection. I will start giving prizes now in my selections. So, most beautiful puppets and most beautiful eye animation, which is super difficult to do. If you ever try to do stop motion, eye movements is the most difficult thing to do. So yeah, Foxed is a very short but very striking stop motion film. I would say compared to the other movies in this selection, it is a little bit less deep in the message, in the meaning, but still in a very, very short time, the directors manage to make you feel the dread and the despair of this little girl. So I think it really fits our theme today of, well, literally being trapped at home. Okay, fortunately we don't have, or I hope we don't have a bunch of very scary foxes after us. There's an interesting contrast between the cartoon look of the movie and the creepiness of the story. It is not only because it is animation and it doesn't fit to horror, but at the contrary, I think it is made on purpose because it looks even creepier that you have a cartoonish feel with a very creepy story. So if you like Coraline, like me, you will love this 3-minute movie, and again, I let you enjoy it and let me know what you thought about it. And last but not least, it's called Benigni. It's a short movie from Finland that has been released in 2009. It's an amazing slow burn short film. At the beginning I was like, what the hell am I watching? What the hell? It doesn't go anywhere. And then you just start being picked by this little detail, and it grows so huge that you just cannot take your eyes off the screen. It's all about loneliness and depression and addiction also, but it's also about finding happiness or finding peace. I think this movie is the weirdo of this selection. If we need to go ahead and give prices and categories, this is the weirdo. And don't watch it if you're trying to quit smoking. Don't watch it. It's basically about a very lonely man in his apartment, spending his time smoking cigarettes at his window. So he does nothing. He plays on his xylophone, he reads a comic book and smokes again. And it looks like a most boring life ever. And one day, suddenly, he realizes that something under his armpit is growing. So it looks like, you know what you have when you have cancer, like something, I don't know, I actually don't know the name in English. If I find it, I'll put it here. It's growing under his armpit. And it's growing and growing and growing and starting to annoy him. And one day he wants to cut it off with a knife. And suddenly the thing is growing eyes and a mouth. So I told you, it's very weird. It's very weird. It's not creepy, it's actually quite cute, but it's weird. Strangely, the movie turns into a friendship story between this man and the thing that has grown out of his armpit. And it's the cutest thing. They are having such a great time together. You cannot not be happy for them. And you just accept it. As a viewer, you just accept that this man is finding happiness with this friend that he grown out of his armpit. And it's the weirdest metaphor of, addiction. Addictions are your friends. That's why you're addicted to them. And everything goes perfectly until something very dramatic happens. Again, I don't spoil you the end. And I like this movie and I wanted to show it to you because so graphically it's not maybe the most beautiful puppets, and I think it's not meant to be like that. But the animation is really nice, and you get so close to these two guys, and it's talking about addiction and loneliness and depression in a very fun way, a very real way. Somehow the story is completely surreal, but the theme, the addiction, is very real and feels exactly like that. If you have ever tried to quit smoking or to get rid of any addiction, you will feel like this. So this movie is all about learning to live without your addictions and to heal. And I think it's again very relevant in Corona times, because addictive behaviors can become even more of a problem when you're stuck at home and are deprived of friends and family support. So if you want to do yourself some good and you already quit smoking, you can watch this movie and relate and have a good time. So that's all for today. I presented you those 5 movies that I hope you're going to enjoy, and I hope they are going to help you make sense of the weird emotions we can feel at the moment because of quarantine and Corona. I link everything down below. They are all available for free online. So if you have an hour to spend, just watch them. It's very short. I won't ask you too much attention. Thank you for listening to me again, and I see you next time.